Are search engines dead by 2030? The internet as we know it has only 5 years left.
Good bit of a controversial topic, but I think one that's got a lot of meat to it. I think we all got thoughts on it as well. And I was kind of thinking, well, it's AI and the extinction of the internet search, because we sort of think about, well, those of you had to say in a few years, we're really going to feel like dinosaurs by telling our grandkids we used to go scraping around on this thing called the internet. We used to use these search engines, and you'd scratch around and try and find some information that we needed, and there was this old interface that you typed in things and you got these 10 search results, you picked from them and you didn't know what you're going to get until you went in there. And it's just a joke when you actually think that there's been such a radical shift recently in how we access information, and that really casts a light on how we have been for the past probably 2 decades, kind of navigating around to sort of figure out what this thing called the internet was. There's a whole profession, I think, probably going to try and juggle the order of that was set out. Like you think of the SEO profession, which we're going to a bit as well, like a whole profession trying to get these little sites to where they need to be and try and one up on the other one. So today I think we've all got some points, but I'm going to be dropping a few absolute mind shifts. Maybe not to all of the listeners. Maybe some of our listeners would be like, well, that's quite a fundamental shift in my understanding. But these are really everything that's come about since the advent of AI.
Yeah, I think the big questions we'll answer are websites will they even matter in 5 years or so? And what happens to human curiosity when answers are immediately available? Are we witnessing a birth of a post-search internet? I think these are some questions that we'll answer with the topics today.
Well, that's absolutely it. And I mean, the first one that I wanted to talk about is whether you've realized it or not, Google is dead. So, if you think of search interfaces like Google, Bing, Yahoo, I mean, think about them. They're old, they're clunky, they're really outdated, or to be brutally honest, they're legacy interfaces. So if you're still using them for your primary function of locating information, then it's really time to look at breaking that habit, because that's an age-old habit.
And just to add in a bit of own thoughts there too, I think they've kind of shot themselves in the foot a bit too, especially Google, obviously the main one. Just in the last few years, it's kind of gone downhill. Forget about ChatGPT, forget about AI in general. Just, if you try and do a Google search now, like half the results are adverts. You're not too sure like how they even got there. So much of it is manipulated with SEO. It just feels like trash experience just using Google. Never mind like a competitor that's come across now that's so much better. So I think they really were in a really poor position. Yeah, they're trying to, I guess, get a foot back up by integrating Gemini directly into search. So when you search, like Gemini tries to get the results, they're trying to make Google another search tool. That's what they're trying to do. But it's still just, unfortunately, I feel like their first attempt at it was so poor. Gemini, in the beginning at least, that first initial model left such a poor impression. First impressions matter. And Gemini really wasn't good in the beginning. So many of those search results that Gemini would come back with were just wrong entirely, or just completely incorrect and manipulated. And it's kind of just like they had a really poor user experience. And then when they tried to catch up, their first offering was just so poor that I think everyone's just, completely abandoned them now. Unsurprisingly.
Interesting point too, and a good terminology is that zero-click information, where right now, according to the data, it looks like Google's AI, the overview that you first see, is appearing in nearly 20% of searches, with some industries seeing over 33%. So that's a fundamental shift in how information is delivered, because we know the first page was always the golden top 10 to get onto, and then the second page, it drops off dramatically. So you're pretty much screwed if you're not on that first page. So this is an interesting refinement to now are you only seeing the very first information from Google AI?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.